Hello and welcome to the TC Exchange podcast. I'm Amity Kraus, ex-retail girl turned realtor turned business owner, where I teach new transaction coordinators how to navigate the complex real estate industry and coach experienced TCs how to level up their game and businesses to add even more value to their agents. Come along with me while I guide you through this intense, complicated, but always fun world of transaction coordination. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the TC Exchange podcast. My name is Amity Kraus, and we are here today continuing on with our series from rookie to pro. And today we are talking to Brittany Reed from the Closings Pro. And I am so excited to meet Brittany and talk with you a little bit today about your business and how you got started and where you are today. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background and how you got started in real estate transaction coordination.
So I've been in the business I got my license in 2018. I initially got my license in Tennessee, and I was a buyer's agent on a larger team for probably a year. I then relocated back to Georgia, switched my license back, and I was a buyer's agent here for someone that I had known for a while. I eventually started so when I worked initially in Tennessee on that team, we had a TC. So I never really did that process of the transaction. When I came back to Georgia, I had to start doing that for myself. And in doing that, I realized, oh, I really like this part of the transaction. So I started TCing for the woman who owned the team. And then shortly after that is when COVID hit and everything kind of slowed down. So I decided to start working for a company, 1099, who does transaction coordination on a larger scale. And I worked there for a couple of years, and now I have my own business.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's so interesting anyway, talking to transaction coordinators, the ones that have come from the real estate agent side of it. That was the way that I got into the business too,
Yeah.
is I was an agent. I didn't like being an agent. There were so many there, while there are, I think this is a misunderstanding. A lot of transaction coordinators misunderstand as they are getting into the business on their own. They think that they're not going to have to do some of those activities. They
Yeah.
definitely do. But
Yeah.
what I found is that I fell in love with the contracts and the process. And that's, yeah, so I definitely relate to that. There's many of
Yeah.
us that could, for sure.
Yeah, and I also feel like you kind of touched on, I think like the best transaction coordinators are the ones who has started out as an agent, because I think it gives you a different perspective of being on both sides of the transaction.
Mhm.
Um, I was an agent. I've bought a couple houses myself, and I've the TC, so I kind of have a wide variety of like the scope of everything, along with the emotions that each side has, because
Yeah.
it's all very different.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've talked, and as I've been doing this series, I've talked to so many transaction coordinators, and everyone has come from a slightly different place. But I think the one common thread we hear all the time is that you will do better and it will go faster for you if you have some experience.
Right.
So good.
Yeah, I agree with
Good.
that. Yeah.
So thinking about, your early career, you started in 2019, I think you said, working in transaction coordination. What were some of the biggest challenges that you faced when you were starting out?
I think the biggest thing was kind of getting the system in place and realizing that each transaction, as different as it can be, there is also a checklist of things that has to happen every single time. And so kind of zoning in on, okay, this is the process in each step of the way. Like these are all of the things that I need to make sure that I'm hitting in order to be making me as the TC, what is the word? Valuable to the agent. So zoning in on the checklist, on the task list, I think that is a big key. And then also once you start doing, 5, 6, 10, 20, however many that you carry, that is another beast in itself to making sure that you can handle the load that you have.
Yeah. I've always found that it is much more effective to start out when you're developing a system, start out with where you want to go in mind so that
Right.
it's ready to scale with you. That's great.
Right. Yeah, definitely helps.
So we talked a little bit about systems and identifying the process and what that looked like. That's an essential skill. What other essential skills do you think that rookie TC should focus on?
I kind of feel like back to like what we were just saying is like I see a lot in the Facebook groups. How do I get started? Is there a course that I can take? And the first question that most people ask is, what experience in real estate do you have? And I feel like if you are serious about becoming a TC and building, whether it's your own or you want to be better in the, for the company that you're working for, I do think that starting out with either working for one agent or working for a team, and it doesn't even have to be TC, you can be the assistant, you can be the ops manager, you can be an agent if you have your license. I think anything in the scope of real estate helps you become a better TC.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. Some other skills I feel like I see repeatedly coming up is being able to look ahead and see, like you're looking at your contract, you're looking at the documents, you see where it's going, and then you see, oh, this is missing. I can start working on this. I know that maybe I've got a septic system and I need to start pursuing that, like that foresight. And
Yeah.
then the other one is resourcefulness, right? Like some of our agents aren't that available to us sometimes, and
Yeah.
we have to come up with an answer. So
Yeah.
those are also absolutely.
Yeah, I would definitely say being organized and being proactive. Like if you see that there is something that, might need to be done, I try not to let my agents have to ask me for something. I try to just get it taken care of. And also we have checklists, and they're spread out through the 30 days. And so I always tell my agents, if you want something done at a different time than I'm doing it, please let me know. Or if you aren't sure if I do something, please ask, because there's a good chance that I can do that. I can either add it into the checklist if it is reasonable, obviously, or I can, move that if you prefer the commission agreement requested day one instead of after due diligence, just little things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that flexibility that's really important. And I'm glad you mentioned the agent piece, because that relationship is so important. And I think this is the thing that I believe that our agents discover about their transaction coordinators, the more experienced they become, is that they see that their most valued transaction coordinator is going to be someone who is their partner. It's
Yeah,
not an assistant, it's not someone they're directing all the time. It's somebody who is we're able to work in the background, that is able to make decisions, and it helps our agents feel a lot more confident in doing some of the other activities they need to do because they know their TC has got that side covered. I'm glad you said
correct.
that.
And that is also why we're here, right? Like to allow the agent to kind of step back, and once they send that binding contract there, it's not out of sight, out of mind, but like they can send it to us and know like, okay, she's got it. Because I have agents that I've worked for years. So that trust and that relationship is there. And there's times I might not even speak to them throughout the transaction. And like I know that if I needed something, I can reach out and they can do the same, but they know and they trust that I'm doing what needs to be done and nothing's falling through the cracks. And I think that's essentially like why we're here.
Yeah. Yeah. I have, I think one of the ways that I like to think about our role as a transaction coordinator too is that we're the project manager,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
we're operating there. We're like going over here, lender, over here, title company, over here, inspector, over here, appraiser, whatever the layers that are part of your process. And that's, it's an important job. It's an
Yeah.
important job, and it's not one of where we're just depending on how you've constructed your business, right? It's not one where we're just doing paperwork in the background.
No.
It's much more involved than that. That's great.
Yeah. That's funny because when people outside of the industry are like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, because I can't just be like, oh, I have a TC company. Because if you don't know, if you're not in real estate, they'll be like, what's that? I'm like, I am basically the manager of the transaction. Like that's like the easiest way to describe it to someone
Yeah.
who like is not familiar.
Yeah, it is. We'll have to, as an industry, one day we'll have to figure out the best way to come up with a good sound bite to describe
Right.
what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, so tell me about how important mentorship or networking has been for you in your career development.
I think it's very important. Um, I think having the right people around you is important. Um, I used to work for a larger company, and I would say that it was not the best environment. And I feel like this industry is so tough. You really have to surround yourself with people who you can kind of like lean on and have a conversation about your business without it feeling like they're my competition. I think you have to have people around you that can support you and also know that they can grow their business without stepping on the next person.
Mhm.
There's another girl in Georgia who were both preferred vendors at the same office. And we've recently started, talking more just as like a sounding wall. Like, I have this going on. How would you handle it? Or have you ever experienced this? Like, do you have any advice? And we also are in like a friendly competition, like, okay, I have this many closing this month, whoever closes the most buys the other coffee. So I just think that it's important to develop relationships that you feel comfortable in. And it never hurt. Like I've been in the business doing this for a while, but you still don't know everything. So it is nice to have people to lean on and ask about, situations that you experience.
Yeah, totally. And that sense of community and someone to collaborate with is so important. I remember a couple of years ago, I was working as a transaction coordinator. My company was very, very small at the time. And I had a colleague that was at a different brokerage. We were working on the same deal, and she and I became buddies, and we would talk frequently. And I invited her to some of the Facebook groups, and she sent me a message, and she's like, Amity, there's all these people are just like us. There's people
Yeah,
and there's so many. It's amazing to me in the last few years how much the TC community has grown and
yeah,
continues to grow. And our industry has gotten a lot more respect and is really amazing. There's so much resources and support that's out there. And one of the things that I truly love about the community, the Facebook groups, is the collaboration that comes on board, the
mhm,
people that are offering their time, their energy, their guidance, all of that. There are of course some bad apples. That's going to happen in anything, but for the most part, everyone is looking to help each other and finding a community. If you can find somebody locally, that's
yeah,
amazing. But
yeah.
if you don't have ability to find someone locally to be your collaboration partner, your accountability partner, whatever, the Facebook groups are a great resource for that.
Yeah, honestly, before I started my business and was working for myself, I haven't used Facebook like that in forever. So I never looked for the groups. And so once I started, people were like, oh, you have to join this, you have to join this. And now, I like redid my whole Facebook to be, business friendly, if you will, and join the Facebook groups. And I'm like, wow, this is actually impressive. Like, and I do feel like our industry is so up and down, and you experience so many, like, it's stressful. And so it's good to just see that you're not alone in certain things.
Absolutely. Especially going from the environments where if we were working for a brokerage and you were working in an office, and now though the pandemic is done and back to full-time work, for most people, where so many of us are still remote, and
Yeah.
that connection is so great.
Yeah, no, it definitely, as nice it is as it is to be remote, and like I don't have to dress up every day. I can just, make my coffee and sit in my office or on the couch, whatever. It can get lonely. I recently got a puppy, so now I have like a little assistant that keeps me busy.
Yeah.
But yes, essentially it can be very lonely, as great as it is to be able to work remote.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So tell me about your professional growth, and what were some of the pivotal moments or decisions that significantly impacted your professional growth?
I would say, starting my own business and being able to work for myself. I think it was honestly something that I always in the back of my head was like, I know I can do this. But like I said, I was working for a larger company and never really kind of crossed my mind. I was, moving and grooving there, and I was busy. And then there was kind of one day where I was like, you know what? I don't like my job anymore. And I never thought I would feel that way, because I love real estate, and I there's nothing else that I could picture myself doing. So when I started to feel like I didn't like my job, I'm like, well, where would I go? Like, this is what I love. And so I kind of started looking at, why do I not like this anymore? And I decided that the best course of action was to work for myself. And I think that was probably the biggest pivotal moment. And now I'm in a different chapter where I'm not used to being a business owner. So there's like a whole nother side of things that I'm like, oh wow, like I have to wear this hat and this hat and this hat. And it's great. It's just a whole different experience.
Yeah, definitely. The switching of the hats is constant, and the big wake up call that you're not just an employee anymore. I
Correct.
don't want to say just an employee. That's not the right thing. You're not an employee anymore. You are the company. You
Yeah,
wear the hats. You are a business owner, and
yeah,
the buck stops with you. And
correct.
that's a lot of responsibility when you're getting
Yeah.
started.
It's like a emotional roller coaster, because there are times where I'm like, all right, I have to get my new business now. And if I'm not closing, or if I'm not, growing my business, it's solely on me to, make that money and pay my bills or take care of myself, so it's just a totally different type of responsibility.
Yeah, definitely. So let's shift gears a little bit. Tell me about efficiency and organization, and what do you suggest, or what tips or tools do you use to manage your task and stay organized that make a big difference for you?
Oh my gosh. I have a couple. So I have a spreadsheet where I keep all my pending transactions, and all the dates, the price, the client name, is the compliance done? Is there a home warranty? Is there a termite? So I have all of the pending listed. Then I have my closed tab where I keep track of everything closing per month, or that has closed per month. And then I store all my transactions in TC Docs. I used to use Open to Close, but I felt like TC Docs was a better suit for just me. Um,
Mhm.
and it's a great monthly cost. It does everything that I need it to do. I think in order to be organized and handle a lot of files, you need to have a task list. You need to have your email templates. And not everything has to be a template, right? but it kind of just gives you an outline, if you will, that can be changed if you need to change it.
Yeah.
But I think those are the most important, is the spreadsheet and the software manager for your transactions.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And you brought up a good point. I think that it's pretty well known within our industry now that open to close is probably one of the most powerful systems that and tools that are out there. But what I love about it is that it's so scalable, right? In that it can go in so many directions,
Yeah.
but there is definitely the other systems that are out there, or I keep saying systems. I have David Breckheimer would smack me. It's a tool. The tool, so many other tools that are out there. And at the end of the day, when it comes to tools that you're going to use, that it has to be the tool that you're going to use.
Yeah.
So if your system fits in using the tool like TC workflow or Brivity, or even just, typing everything manually. Maybe it's just the Google Suite that you're
Mhm.
using. If that tool works the best for you and you're operating the way that you want to operate, then it's the best tool for you.
Yeah, I mean, and I think there's no one way to do this, right? Like, I think if you lined up like 10 business owners in this industry, every single one is going to have a different way of doing things. But at the end of the day, we are all essentially doing the same thing. So I think it's just, like you said, whatever works best for you. And also, each agent that I work with they might have little things that I do for them that, I don't do for the others. So you just have to be able to be adaptable.
Mhm.
Is that a word, adaptable?
It is. It
Um,
is.
when I said it out loud, I'm like, wait. I think that's important, is to be able to, know what each agent is looking for or needs. And obviously you're storing that information somewhere. For me, that's on a spreadsheet. And then my transactions are in TC docs.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. So going back to when you were a beginner transaction coordinator, uh, what was the skill that you wish that you had known from the beginning that you've known and learned now?
I would say the use of a platform like Open to
Mhm.
Close or TC Docs. Because when I was initially starting out, when I moved back to Georgia and I was just TCing for that one agent, I was doing everything in like the pages on my Mac. I would have the checklist and I would go through and just make sure everything was done, but I was creating the emails on my own. And I think if I would have kind of researched a little bit more or got a mentor or, took it a little bit more serious and started a business for myself back then,
Mhm.
and really like used the tools that are offered to us. Because at the time, I really didn't know that all of this was out there.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that would have been probably the most helpful
Yeah.
for me to
Yeah.
realize.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I agree with it. And yeah, although, you're right though, in that starting out very simply, I started out with just a spreadsheet myself, and
Mhm.
that worked great until it didn't. And then
Right.
I needed to move.
Right.
If I wanted to grow, I needed to move into the next thing. But recognizing that and recognizing how important systems are is a great skill that you're going to need. And one of the things I really live by is that if something happens more than three times or more, you see the same thing happen, same question, same circumstance, whatever it is, as soon as you see the third one, oh, I need a system. I need a system because now this is something that is going to come up. And a system, this is the other thing I think people misunderstand about systems, is that they think that it has to be this really elaborate thing and all of these major steps
Yeah.
and process. And it's not. It can be as simple as, if you get this question, this is the answer and this is what you do. This is how we do
Yeah.
it. It's just that cut and dry.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
really, essentially, if it starts coming up like that and it's in every transaction, the answer is most likely going to be the same every
Yep.
time. So,
Yep.
No, I like that.
Yeah. So tell me, we were working in a world where we're remote, we're separate from our agents, we're separate from our team, our colleagues a lot. What do you do to ensure that you're having clear and effective communication with your transactions all together?
So I try to be very available to my agents. If they call me, I will answer the phone or I will call them right back. Or uh, with working remote, if I have a slow time, I might be doing things around the house or I might be running errands, but I always keep my computer on me. So I'm essentially working from anywhere. And I think like the agents don't expect us to be at our computer 9 to 5, but I think that they expect us to be available. And I also like to set that precedent with my agent. The turnaround time for certain things is an hour, or if you send a new file in, I have a 24-hour turnaround time. I feel like that question is very broad.
It is.
But I do think like the key to building relationships with your agents and developing that trust is you have to be open to answering that phone when they call you. You have to be available to them.
Yeah. So there is a couple of things that you said in there. One is about, you said precedent, but it's setting an expectation of what your agents can expect from you when it comes to communication, how quickly you're processing a file, how quickly you're responding to an email or any of that. And also what I liked also that you said is that you don't have to be necessarily sitting at your desk the entire day. We live in
Yeah.
a mobile world, and
Yeah.
fortunately, many of the systems and the tools that are available to us are available digitally. They're available on our phones, even. When
Yeah.
I have sat in my car waiting for an appointment to go into an appointment and written an amendment in dot loop on my phone. Like that's just sometimes the way that it goes.
Yeah.
Uh, and having clear communication by setting a boundary or setting an expectation with your agent is just going to lead you to having a great experience all the time. So let's talk a little bit about this next thing. We hear it referred to a lot is work-life balance. I have always hated the phrase work-life balance because to me it implies that you have to give something up in order for something else to take the lead. Either
Yeah.
either you're producing and experiencing and doing things on the work life and your balance is in your personal life is really low, and then reverse. So I prefer to think about it as being harmony, and how are we creating a harmonious situation. So tell me about, for you, we have a very demanding job where it would be nice if all of the time we were working from a 9 to 5, but the
Yeah.
reality is that we may be pulled in during evenings, we may be pulled in during weekends, and our threshold for that varies depending on our how we've communicated and set expectations. But tell me about how you create that work-life harmony for yourself, in your business and personal life.
So it's interesting thinking about it because when I was working at the previous company, I was so busy to the point where I was like working from 6 a.m. some days until like 9 at night. And it was just, I just don't feel like our industry is busy, but I think there is too much sometimes. And you start to carry too many files, and now it becomes quantity over quality. So I think the biggest thing of me stepping back and having my own business is one, and I'm excited to work now. So like when I get a new file or if I have X amount of closings that week, I am excited to do that. It's a benefit that I can sit wherever I want, a coffee shop, or I can get my nails done. I can do whatever I want during the day while I'm getting things done. So that I think also creates like, okay, I'm not locked to my house office. So that helps with that work-life balance because you feel like you're enjoying your day and you're working, but
Mhm.
you're also enjoying your work because it's for me. So I think that helps. And I also think setting those expectations with your agents so that they know when you're available and they know when you're not. And I try to work 8 to 6-ish every day. I do also offer writing to my agents. And so sometimes on the weekends, they'll text me and be like, hey, are you available to write an offer? And it's a Sunday afternoon. And I'll either say like, hey, no, I'm not, or yes, I am. I can do it right now. But they never expect the weekends that I am available. So I think it's just being transparent to the agents of how you work and how you run your business, but being available enough that when you are saying, sorry, I can't get to that right now, they are like, okay, we respect that.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me about what you are the most proud of in your career.
I feel like I'm like a robot, but definitely my business.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
should be proud of that. It's a big
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like changed a lot for me. Just like I said before, like being excited about this job again and being excited of getting a file and knowing like, okay, this is all me, my name is on it. And so you look at it a little different. And when you get the closings, that money is all yours. You're not splitting that with anyone. So I definitely think that is like it's been the biggest blessing for me, for sure.
Yeah. So, what parting piece of wisdom or encouragement would you like to share with our listeners who are thinking about becoming a transaction coordinator or they're on their journey from starting out to becoming a pro? What advice would you give them?
I would definitely say to try and get as much experience in real estate. It doesn't necessarily have to be as a TC, but having that experience and knowing, how the agent operates and what that side of the transaction looks like, along with what the TC does. And like I said earlier, it doesn't have to be a TC role. You can be an assistant. You can work in an office. Just something within the industry, I think, is very beneficial. But also joining the Facebook groups and being around people who have experience. And I think if you surround yourself with people who are they are where you want to go, that is very helpful in
Yeah.
your journey. So.
Yeah. I love that. Get in the room.
Yeah. I
Get in
mean,
the room.
that's the only way because also this industry, I mean, like we said earlier, everyone does it different, but the goal is the same. And there's so many people who own their own business or work for themselves. And so, nothing is impossible. You just have to have the experience to be able to offer that service to the agents and be valuable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, Brittany, tell us where we can find you.
So my Instagram and my website is the Closings Pro. Well, the Instagram is the Closings Pro. The website is theclosingspro.com. And then on Facebook, my name is Brittany Elise, Alyse. And I think that's all of the socials that I have.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I thank you so much for coming on today. I thought this was a really, really wonderful, wonderful conversation and wonderful to get to know you. And one last thing before I let you go
Mhm.
is tell me, we're all big into business books and things that inspire us and grow business books or personal books. Tell
Mhm.
me about which business book has been the most impactful in your career.
I should be reading a lot more. I used to, but I would say The One Thing. I read
Mhm.
that when I initially got my license, but I think that book translates through anything that you're going through or anything in your life. It doesn't have to be just your job, doesn't have to be just real estate. I think that book is super, super helpful.
Yeah. Great. That's a great one. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for coming
Thank
on
you.
today and spending some time sharing your story with us. I'm so glad to finally be able to meet you and talk with you. And I'm grateful for you and for you coming on.
Thank you. This was
All
so
right.
much fun.
It was. All right. Thank you. And that wraps up another episode of the TC Exchange podcast. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this incredible journey through the world of transaction coordination. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to learn, and together, we're setting the compass to true north. If you want to dive deeper into the world of TCs or simply connect with our growing community, follow us on Instagram at TrueNorthTCT. For exclusive content, insights, and engaging discussions, be sure to join our Facebook group, the TC Exchange. And for resources, courses, and a treasure trove of knowledge, check out our website at TrueNorthTransactionServices.com. Keep the conversations going, share your insights, and until next time, keep your compass pointing true north. See you soon. And that wraps up another episode of the TC Exchange podcast. Thank you so much for joining me and being a part of this incredible journey through the world of transaction coordination. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity to learn, and together, we're setting the compass to true north. If you want to dive deeper into the world of TCs or simply connect with our growing community, follow us on Instagram at TrueNorthTCT. For exclusive content, insights, and engaging discussions, be sure to join our Facebook group, the TC Exchange. And for resources, courses, and a treasure trove of knowledge, check out our website at TrueNorthTransactionServices.com. Keep the conversations going, share your insights, and until next time, keep your compass pointing true north. See you soon.